My name is Daquan Bowers, defensive end, Bamberg Earhart, South Carolina, Bamberg Earhart High School. What I like to do off the field, just hang around with my friends, spend time with my family, have fun, things teenagers do. My favorite artist is Jay-Z, a rapper from Brooklyn, New York. I'm not mean, I'm a soft-hearted person. Everybody should know that.
Not mean, soft-hearted person. We're joined now by Daquan Bowers, live from the Clemson campus. You've had some time to be on campus now. The early enrollment as you start your semester a little bit early, the early graduation from high school. Daquan, what's that experience been like to get on campus and get started?
It's been a different experience, coming straight out of high school, coming straight to college. But, I've enjoyed it all, and I'm looking forward to the season coming around.
So in the ESPN 150, Daquan, on the defensive end, you are the top-ranked player. When you found out you were the #1 player in the nation, how'd you react?
It's an honor to be rated so high. Being #1 in the nation, it's just an honor to just be, excuse me, it's just an honor to be ranked so high, and I'm just honored that you guys thought so highly of me to rank me there.
For good reason. So the South Carolina Player of the Year, incredible numbers, 1,219 yards rushing. You scored 19 touchdowns, All-State twice. Now that's on the offensive side of the ball. 97 total tackles, 33 tackles for loss, and 10 sacks on the defensive side of the ball. Earlier today, we talked with your head coach, Tommy Bowden, who said definitely Daquan will be a defensive player. What do you think? Can you play two ways in college?
I don't think I'll be playing two ways in college. I'm going to try to stick to the defensive side of the ball. Offense was just for high school.
We did pretty well there. You also played in the Under Armour All-America High School game in Orlando, a chance to really experience some college-level speed with some amazing athletes. What was that experience like for you, Daquan?
There was a great deal of athletes down there, some incredible speed, like you said, some good strength. I just was honored to be down there in that company with those guys. Those guys are going to have great careers in college, and I wish them all the luck.
And you also worked with some NFL-level coaches, some big names who were formerly in the professional ranks. What sorts of things did you learn from those NFL-caliber coaches in Orlando?
They've been there, NFL. I know they know what they're talking about. So I just took in everything that they were telling me. I just tried to put it all together in such a short time, and it turned out pretty good in the game for me. And I'm just happy that they helped me.
Ron Meyer and Jim Hanifin were the head coaches at the Under Armour All-America High School game. Talk about the Clemson class. Right now, you and Miami, you're already on campus. You're set to go for your freshman year in the fall. You and the Miami Hurricanes are jetting right up to the top of the ESPN 150, not only in the player rankings, but in the Scouts Inc. overall class for recruiting. Players like Kyle Parker have joined you there. We know also about Jamie Harper, the outstanding running back, who today committed to Clemson. What is your thought on the incoming class?
Miami, they recruited great athletes, and Brandon Hash, those guys down there. In Clemson, we've recruited great athletes, that Jamie Harper and Antoine McClain, those guys. And I'm just honored that they thought of us to come here, and we're going to have a good year, and I'm looking forward to playing with those guys. Well,
in that get-to-know-you segment out of the commercial break, Daquan, we saw that you're kind of fun-loving guy, maybe gentle-hearted at heart. Talk about your musical background, too. We understand you play a couple different instruments, so it's not just football with you. What sort of goals do you have beyond football at Clemson with your experience there?
Coach Bowden, he's a very spiritual guy. There's a big spiritual family here. I just glad to be a part of that. Most schools, they don't really care about your spiritual background, but that was a big factor here in my choice to come to Clemson because I felt comfortable here.
Daquan, thanks so much for your time. ESPN 150 #1 player overall, Daquan Bowers, defensive end at Clemson.
Thank you.
Great to see Daquan already. He's got the Clemson gear on there, Craig, because he's set up, and that was the same exact place we talked to in that same theater with Tommy Bowden, the head coach at Clemson. What about the impact a player like Daquan Bowers can have as a freshman? He is there early, a semester early, so he's going to have spring ball coming up this year.
Well, Dave, you hit the nail on the head. By him being there early, that puts him ahead of the curve. On ability alone, he has the ability to go in there and make an impact because he's so athletic. Coach Bowden had talked about how he'd rush for over 1,000 yards in high school his senior year as a running back. He can block kicks. He could be a tight end. You put all that athletic ability, then you get him there on campus early, allow him to go through spring ball, get acclimated, and that is a recipe for success. The other thing about Daquan Bowers is he's a total package type guy. When you're looking at prospects and trying to project them to college, there could be other X factors, their personality, how they might mesh with coaches, what they might do off the field, Dave. This kid is a young man who's very well-rounded, playing instruments in his church band. He's a very fun-loving guy. Down at the Under Armour game, guys just gravitated to him. They all wanted to go against him. They all wanted to hang out with him. He's got leadership ability. You put that ability with that personality, and you've got a recipe for a young man who could be an outstanding player for Clemson, and who knows how much further.
He looked a little bit nervous in the interview we had with him via satellite from the Clemson campus, but believe us, we spent some time with him at the Under Armour All-America game in Orlando, and he's got quite a personality. He's got that it factor you talked about.
Oh, definitely, without a doubt.
Okay, let's talk about some other defense.
Welcome back to National Signing Day on the U. We have a shakeup in the top 5 classes so far. The Florida Gators came in as the #1 team in the nation, followed by Miami, and then Georgia and Clemson. Now it's Miami, Clemson, Florida, Georgia, and Bama. A lot has to do with some of the commitments from Miami. Like Cookie Buchanan, the linebacker said he was going to go to the Gators, originally committed. You got to love that name. Now he's going back to Miami. How good is this Miami class? It's not crumbling right now.
Elite on the defensive side of the football in terms of team speed. Now, what they have done is they have gone out and they have found the Miami players of old. Guys that can run sideline to sideline, that can shut you down within the front 7, and then end up signing, I think, their biggest coup on the defensive side of the football in corner Brandon Harris, which is a huge pickup for them. Their outside linebacker / safety hybrid type guys, what everybody's playing with now that can play in space, are exceptional.
Arthur Brown,
your guy. Sean Spence, Raymond Buchanan. I really like this group on offense at wide receiver where they need more playmakers, solidified themselves at quarterback with Taylor Cook. Miami doing a wonderful, wonderful job to this point.
What's standing out to you, T-Mac?
Well, Clemson is a program that I would not have thought would be in this top 5, and they've done a great job. You look at filling needs at defensive end with Philip Merlin going on, bringing in more running back help. They have done an outstanding job, and they're moving up. I love that. You know, we got Luganville and Hubbard, a fluid situation.
There you go.
Always changing and recognizing on signing day, bringing in big-time players, helping their class.
Jamie Harper, the running back, third-ranked running back, and then obviously you've got to take a look at Dwayne Allen, defecting from Georgia, joining the Clemson Tigers, as well as offensive tackle Antoine McClain. Clemson skyrocketing.
Quan Bowers.
Yeah.
The Tigers started off the day.
Quan.
They were #4 in the ESPN 150 rankings as far as the top classes. They continue to climb. If you need to get your updated standings, simply go to ESPN.com or check us out at ESPNU.com, and you can find all the rankings right there. We're with you tonight until 7 o'clock Eastern Time. All right, Coach, let's keep it rolling now and talk about some of the top teams coming into next season. Georgia's a team that I would think would be on top of maybe some lists here after they thumped Hawaii in the Sugar Bowl.
Some.
Let's get your
Not mine.
top 10. Not yours.
Ohio State #1.
Oh, Coach.
I got Florida #2.
Ohio State shouldn't be allowed to play in a bowl game in
USC
January. Blacklisted.
Oklahoma #4. I got Georgia 5. Clemson, with all this great recruiting, is going to be 6. Texas,
that in, huh?
Missouri, Penn State. I
Wait a
like
second.
Penn State.
How can you have
Illinois,
them
West
number 10?
Virginia, and LSU.
Only 12
That's the tripod. Only tripod.
Number 10.
You don't want any more?
No.
Throw
Okay,
Kansas or
Todd, do
someone
you
in?
have like 17 teams in your top 10?
No, I keep
He has
10,
them at
10 and
#1.
10.
Who's your
Georgia
number 10?
#1? Mark Richt. Come on, Matt Stafford, Knowshon Moreno, the best running back in the country. Oklahoma lost a couple juniors, though. Might have to downgrade them. Florida, another great class.
Where's Ohio
USC,
State?
always. Ohio State's 5. That means they can play maybe on January 2nd. Certainly not on the 7th. LSU, I think they're better. They're more talented than people think. Missouri only loses basically 2 players from last year's team. Chase Daniel comes back to school. Illinois, young, talented, only going to get better. Clemson, maybe you sneak them up there because of the recruiting class. I like them at #9 as well.
Let's go to the voice of reason on this set. The second voice of reason, you know, Tom Luganville. What do you got in your top 10?
There's no off position on Todd McShay's genius switch.
Thank you.
Because Georgia, Florida, Oklahoma have a little difference in order there, but without question, I think return the most talented rosters with the most impact guys at key positions. Missouri is going to have to build and now have to deal with an expectation level. SC is one team that could surprise because I think their depth will take over and become experienced quickly. Ohio State, Todd, I completely agree with you. They've had their opportunities. Clemson
They got everybody
showed
back.
this year they could have everybody
that's
back
so
every year.
stale.
Come on.
Ohio
How many
State
times have we
national
heard that?
championship game.
That's right.
They lasted
I don't
8
wanna
minutes.
Let me tell you what I liked about Clemson, though, this year. Instead of taking the nosedive after suffering some losses in the middle of the season that they had done in years past, They responded, rebounded, 16
started
starters
off
returning,
poorly.
and a great recruiting class as well.
Very tough to get into these two guys' top 10 as far as the top 13.
Ohio
Yeah.
State,
The tripod.
best team in the country. They have everybody back.
All right, we're going to head to the Big 12 next.
National championship.
You got some top teams in the Big 12 in those top 10s and top 13s. We'll talk about recruiting next.
So we take a look. Here are the programs that appear to have helped themselves the most this recruiting season. This is the latest updated rankings from ESPN Scouts Inc. for the best recruiting classes. Miami signed 12 top 150 players. That tops everyone, with surprising Clemson second and a trio of SEC schools at 3, 4, and 5. Tom, let's start with Clemson. They're at number 3. The highlight of Tommy Bowden's class, defensive end Daquan Bowers from just down the road in Bamberg, South Carolina.
Well, there are franchise quarterbacks and there are franchise pass rushers, and that's what Daquan Bowers is. This guy is an edge rusher with tremendous strength, speed, and size. I think he's an impact player right off the bat at Clemson, as they also have some needs along the defensive front. If he plays his cards right, I see this young man working himself towards an NFL career here shortly. And then without question, Jamie Harper, the running back. Now you may say, how is this a need for Clemson? James Davis, C.J. Spiller in the fold. I think both of those backs will be gone a year from now, and Jamie Harper, waiting in the wings, will contribute as a kick return man, and I think could be an elite player as a running back for the Tigers soon to come.
Having a bunch of backs never hurt USC, did it?
Absolutely not. And don't count out Kyle Parker. He might be the next Chase Daniel to come out of this class.
Right, so Robert, we mentioned Spiller and Davis and adding another running back in Harper. How does this class fit in with what Tommy Bowden already has at Clemson, which looks like a program on the rise?
Well, I think on the defensive side of the ball in particular is where they needed some help. And this was a top 5 rated defense last year. A lot of people didn't realize that. Obviously, on the offensive side of the ball, you've got Colin Harper, who did a great job for them last year. 27 touchdowns against only 6 interceptions all year. James Davis, C.J. Spiller back. This is a team that's certainly going to be contending for ACC title this year, possibly top 10 in the country.
All right, Tom, Alabama gave Nick Saban a big pile of money to build.
Catering for our guest and crew was provided by the Huddle House. For any meal, anytime, it's gotta be Huddle House. Visit www.huddlehouse.com to find a restaurant near you.
And welcome back to In the Huddle Recruiting Edition. It is our National Signing Day special. Time now to take a look at the Atlantic Coast Conference and the Atlantic Division. And time now to bring in the head coach of the Clemson Tigers. That would be Tommy Bowden. And Tommy, thanks a lot for joining us on the line here. And congratulations on what looks like to be a spectacular class.
Well, like I know from a coaching standpoint, the true indication is production in a couple of years. But, you know, if who's recruiting them is any indication, then we had a pretty good class.
Well, you start at the top of your list with defensive end Daquan Bowers, rated the #1 defensive prospect in the nation by a lot of people. Do you see him following in the lines and the footsteps, hopefully one day, of James Adams and Philip Merling?
Yeah, you know, Gaines came in about 223, and Daquan's coming in about 273. They're just a little bit different players. Gaines was an edge rusher, 4-3 scheme they use a lot in the pros. Daquan's going to be a little bit more media, can take a meatier guy, heavier guy, can take a little more piece of an offensive tackle or a tight end.
Coach, on the other side of the ball, you pulled Jamie Harper today, kind of reminiscent of a couple years ago, getting C.J. Spiller out of the state of Florida. Got to like your odds going down there to get a big-time running back. What does Jamie Harper bring to the table for you guys?
Well, you know, C.J.'s 195 and James is 205, and Jamie's 225, and that's something it's just hard to bring extra punch into a goal line or short yard situation. Those other two guys are good guys and quality guys, but again, an extra 20 pounds, you know, ramming it up there on a 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 or in a goal line situation just brings a little more punch to the play.
Coach, obviously recruiting is not about rankings, it's about filling needs. How do you really think you address the 1 or 2, 3 key need areas for your football team?
Well, I think we addressed our needs. I don't think there's any doubt about that. We lost some linemen, lost tackles, and Antoine McClain, how he recruited tackle out of Alabama, we felt like we got a need there, plus some other linemen. We need a couple running backs. We got Antoine Ellington and Jamie Harper, a couple quarterbacks with John Rick and Kyle Parker, wide receivers, some defensive guys, safeties. We signed 4 safeties. We needed 1 corner, got 1. You know, as far as the numbers and needs, we really feel like we addressed all those issues. We even signed a couple of kickers, you know, as far as some kicking specialists. So we felt like across the board, that's why I feel like is in my 10 years I've been here, the most complete class I've signed, simply because we did fill needs, and I think we filled it with some quality players.
One final question. Of course, this is a very difficult time of the year for any young man. Sometimes hard to make that decision. Tight end Dwayne Allen had gone back and forth between Clemson and Georgia over the last couple of days. He ended up signing with the Clemson Tigers.
Yeah, you know, he did. He went back and forth. Had been a Georgia commit for about a year, and then he switched to us, and he switched to them, and then he switched to us, and then it was them this morning, us this morning. And I think deciding factors when John Rick, Mark's son, came here, he said, hey, if it's good enough for his son, it's good enough for me. So let's go.
It worked out well. Coach, thanks a lot for your time. We do appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Enjoy y'all's show.
There you go. How about that? John Ricks turned on his father, helping out his new team.
Recruiting's brutal.
It is. It's, you know. Anyway, Florida State there leading the Atlantic Division. Clemson right behind them. BC, NC State, Maryland, and Wake Forest. Of course, the Demon Deacons just